we will eventually build this site with 5 pages. And as I said, the home, music, tour, and store page, tour pages, these first 3 will pretty much look like what's on the site now. Their store page, you may have noticed this, you may not have, but I just want you to see this. And that is, if I do go out to travistritt.com and I click store, look at the URL that's up there, if you would. Watch how the URL changes. See that? It's actually going out to an offshoot of that site. So instead of saying travistritt.com, it says travistritt.richardsandSouthern.com. Well, we're not going to do that. So ours will look similar to this, but it won't be identical. Also, in about Chapter 11 in the book, we go through HTML forms. That's when we'll build that fan club thing. Okay? All right. So I'm coming back into my Visual Studio Code here, and I'm going to remove my UL tag because I told you I just put that in just to show you a couple things. But this is what I want us to do. All right, we're in our body section now. Right now we've got this H1 tag. All right, we'll leave that there. It's totally fine. But up above that, we're going to put in what are called nav tags. This will eventually become our navigation. Did everybody hear that? So eventually, I'm not going to go back to the travistritt.com page, but if you looked on the top, it had music and store and tour and all that stuff. That's what we'll have in there eventually. Okay? All right. For now, ours is going to look butt ugly. It's going to literally just be an unorganized list, and it's going to have hyperlinks in it. All right? So we're going to want those 5 pages. We only have 1 right now, so we're not going to make the other 4 go anyplace. Did everybody hear me? Okay? But we're going to make the links and stuff for all 5 right now. So what we want in here is an unordered list. So inside of our nav bar here, we want an unordered list. Okay? And you'll notice I didn't do this, but automatically Visual Studio Code should be doing some indentation for us. Now it's going to be bad because, again, my screen, this is all too big, and I got to remember how to go and try to change it. If I make it too small, then people back there have a hard time reading it. If it's too big, it gets hard to read too. It's just the way it is. So I'm going to put in here this. In fact, let me show it to you here. I'll put it in here, and then I'll go and copy it over. That'll make it easier for you to look at. So I can make it over here nice and big. So we're making an unordered list. And that unordered list is going to have in there 5 list items. Okay? So I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'll try to cheat a little bit. And I'm just going to copy this in 5 times. All right. Now, in each one of these, I'm going to want it to say, if you look up on the screen here, where is that? I'm going to want it to say one of these. Okay? And it really and truly doesn't matter when we're doing this. I'm going to want to put this stuff in there. Okay? It doesn't matter if I say fan club here 1 word or 2 words. It really and truly doesn't matter. I'll put it in actually in 2 words. All right? But, so I'm going to start doing this. So I want in here a href equals index.html. Oops. Home. Okay? And what is that saying? It's not going anywhere, so you can look up on the screen here. That is saying, if I did this right, I should have the word home, and it should be hyperlinked. And if I click on it, it should go to my home page. I know I'm there already. All right? And so we've got this one handled. Now, again, I'm going to have to make changes, but I'm going to go in and copy this. So for the next one, this will eventually, don't type this in, but this will eventually say music.html. In fact, we can put it in there, but when you click on it, you're going to get an error because you're going to be trying to go to a page that doesn't exist. Does that make sense to everybody? So you can do one of two things. You can leave it just like that, which is what some people do, but some people that bugs them, so they put in a hashtag, which means don't go anywhere. You can do it either way. It's not going to hurt by you putting this in. It's just that you'll be trying to go to a place that doesn't exist. That's all. All right. Then this will be called tour. This one will be called store. And this last one, now look on the screen, please. This, you don't want this to say fan space club. Don't do that. That's the name of a file. Run the two things together and do it like this. I mean, it drove me nuts because I've had people over the years, I tell them that and they're like, well, I put the space in there anyway. I like the way it looks. So what? All right. And I think probably Angie heard this last semester, but next semester you guys are going to be doing a full-fledged programming class the whole semester. And when I used to teach that class, the book I used to use had a program in there called Joe's Automotive. And you literally made this like a invoice for an automotive place. And it was Joe's, Joe''S. I forgot to tell people not to put an apostrophe in when they saved it. It worked just fine, and all of a sudden one day it just didn't work. And you couldn't do a darn thing about it. You couldn't go back and manually change it. You couldn't do anything. It just broke. That's why I'm telling you that if you do put blank spaces in where you shouldn't, it might work. But one day it just might not. That's all. All right, so this is how that hyperlink is going to appear. That's why it's okay to have a blank space in there. So this will be hyperlinked, this will be hyperlinked, this will be hyperlinked, this will be hyperlinked, and this will be hyperlinked. This one right here, I can put in index.html, or I could just put a hashtag in there too. All right? So, everybody have that? A couple people look like they're still typing, and that's okay. But I'm about to go and copy that into my actual site in just a minute. We will eventually use CSS and pretty this up. Promise. And it won't be that long before we do that. All right? So let me grab this, copy it to the clipboard, come back into Visual Studio Code, and paste it in right here. I'm going to save. I'm going to go back into here, and there's what you have. All right? You can use, just so you know, you can use CSS to do things like right now, these are block level. That's why each one is on its own line. Does that make sense? We're going to change that to make them inline block. So they'll be home, music, store, tour, store, fan club. So they're all on the same line. We'll do all that stuff. Eventually, we'll get to where we're using a package that does some of the work for you called Bootstrap, and we'll redo this site in Bootstrap. And what you'll have on the end here will be, for lack of better words, like a logo. We could put our own logo in right now if we wanted to. A lot of sites, you go out to the site and they have a logo. We could put that picture of Travis in there. We could do that. And we could link that. But the important thing, what I want you to take away from this is we will want this on every page. Does that make sense? But when we click here, if we're on the music page and we click home, we want it to jump back to the home page. If we're on home and we click store, we want it to go to the store page. All right, we will create all those. All right. So that's the first thing. Not that much, but let's come in and let's add a little bit more. So that like I said, it's a start. Now, sometimes what people do, notice, after we put all this stuff in here, we've got that H1 tag. A lot of times people put that H1 tag right in their nav section. You can do that. You don't have to, but you can do that. In fact, what a lot of people do is right here where I've got nav, they take the whole nav and the H1 that goes under it, and they put that inside of a header section. See what I'm saying? If I confused you, what I'm saying is, let me grab all this stuff that I've got right here. Okay, and I'll go back into here. So this is what we have right now. All right, well, it's got a lot of tabs, too many tabs in it. I don't know how I've got two ULs in there, but I do. All right. So what I'm telling you is this is pretty much what our site looks like right now in the body section. And what a lot of people do, and what we're gonna do this too, is they take their nav and they put it inside of their header. Now, in our book, by nav, it says a section of a page that contains links to other pages or placeholders. That's exactly what we have. Then under header, it says the header for a page. Some people believe that nav should be part of the header. Some people believe nav should not be part of the header. All right? It's just, a matter of what you believe, what you think. But I'm going to do this. So I'm going to take everything that's here, everything, and tab it once. I'm going to jump back up to here, and I'm going to put in here a header tag, and down at the bottom, I'm going to put in an ending header tag. Do you understand what I'm asking you to do? All right. I will make those same changes in my document in just a minute, but I like using here Notepad++ because I can manipulate the font a lot easier. That's the only reason. Now, when you do that, guess what? It won't look any different than the last. If you ran it before we put in the header tags, it won't look any different. But what you're doing is you're letting anybody who looks at this, who looks at the code, know, hey, my header contains my navigation and my H1 tag. Everybody had a chance to do that? Again, I'm not trying to see how fast we can get through this. So if you need a little bit more time, just say so. All right, I'm going to grab it too. And take what I had in there and replace it. Again, when I do a Control S and I run this, it doesn't look any different than it did before I made the change. That's totally fine. Well, let's put in something so we make it look a little different. All right? So, we got a header. And don't worry, because right now it's going to look funky, but it's okay. All right? Well, the opposite of a header, if you don't know this, is a footer. All right? And let's just put in here ampersand copy 2020 by, put your name in for Travis Tritt Inc. I don't know. I won't even say it for Travis Tritt. We'll put in this. You see this a lot. All rights reserved. Okay? So put that underneath the header. Which should make sense. The foot would come out underneath the head. And again, you're not turning this in. This is a class project, so if you don't like what that says, or you're like, I think it should say, by Jeff Scott, all rights reserved, and then 2020. Then do it like that. I don't really care. The only time I'm going to look at yours is if you run into any problems. All right, so we've got that, and I'm going to jump back into VS Code, and I'm going to paste that in right underneath my header. So there's my footer, and I've saved it, so I'm going to jump back, and there's my footer. We'll talk later. Usually, the footer, you may or may not have noticed, but on most sites, the footer is a little smaller text. They might have a link in the footer to like a legal disclaimer or whatever. We'll talk about all that stuff later. That's totally fine. So we've got a header, we've got a footer. Well, you know what would be kind of nice would be to put some stuff in between those two. All right. Now, I want to show you this. I'm going to type in this. Don't you? Let's see, cupcake. All right. So you can choose. We're going to put in garbage text. Garbage text is called lorem ipsum text. And I've got this site that's got 56 different kinds. Cupcakes, pick some, etc. I put in Samuel Jackson, but yeah, there's some dirty words in there. Don't want to do that. I don't know if there's any kind of country and western. Lorem ipsum. I have no idea if there's anything even close to that. Never looked. Well, doesn't look like it. So let's just use the regular stuff. So I think is it lipsum.org? Yeah. Go out to lipsum.org. lipsum.org. We're going to start making this. It's going to be very textual, but we're going to start making this look like an actual web page. Again, all you should need is lipsum.com, not .org. So just go out to lipsum.com. All right? Now, we're going to have to make some changes in this. Did you all hear me? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, keep going down. It says, how many paragraphs do you want? I think 4 will be sufficient. So I'm going to type in a 4 right there. Everybody see what I just did? I just put a 4 in there, and I'm going to type in generate lorem ipsum. And guess what it just gave me? 4 paragraphs. Now, look on the screen. I'm going to grab these 4 because I want to show you this. I'm going to purposely put them back into Notepad++ here and paste them in. Why? In life, it depends on how anal you are about things. What I mean is this. Before every single paragraph that's in here, what I must do, is I have to put a P tag at the start, not a PP tag, I don't know what that is. I have to put a P tag in at the beginning and a /P at the end. So I want to do that. So at the end of each paragraph, I want a /P tag, and at the, not there. And at the beginning of each paragraph, I'm going to want a P tag. All right? Like that. Now, the reason I say if you're anal, I like to have it on my screen where I can see everything. Not everybody is like that. So I want to show you what I do. You don't have to do this. But I like to set it up basically like this. You all see what I'm saying? You might think, I don't care. Then don't do it. Boy, that's a long paragraph. Holy moly, it's a long paragraph. Probably didn't need 4 of it if they're going to be this long. All right. So there's my first paragraph. I'm going to just cut it down. 2 is probably going to be enough if they're this size. But we'll see. Okay? You'll see it in just a minute anyway. So I'm just going to, for now, I'm just going to use 2 of these. And again, I'm going to this is, some people say that this is Latin. I don't even know if it is. I think it's just garbage text. So, all right. And then I'm gonna go back to the site, and in right before my footer, I'm gonna paste in those two paragraphs. I'm gonna save, and there is my new and improved site. And again, it's nothing to look at. It's nothing to write home about. We have put no pictures in it. We have put no CSS in it. I think everybody'd agree with that. All right. Anybody have any questions on what we've done? Anything you need repeated or clarified? All right. I'm going to come over to here, and now we're going to do something that's going to be kind of nice because we'll do it quickly. I'm going to do one more file, save, or just a Control S. So I'm sure I'm saving. All right. Then I want to do, we don't have to do this yet, but we can. I want to do a file, and I want to do a save as. Everybody hear me? We're going to do a file, save as. We're going to make the other 4 pages. They're all going to look identical. Who cares? We'll start making changes then. So what did we say we had? We've got, well, I had it before. No, we got it in here. Home, music, tour, store, and fan club. So I'm going to save this page. I'm going to do a file, save as. I want to make sure I save it right where my index page is, which is right here. I'm going to use that little trick. In double quotes, I'm going to put music.html. So I'm saving the page as music.html. I'm making a 100% exact duplicate. All right? So music.html in double quotes. Hit save. Now I've got 2 pages up here. There's music. Well, what changes do I have to make? This is where you start thinking like a programmer. Well, first of all, let's see. I don't want this title to say home anymore. I want that to say music. Does that make sense? So I'm going to change that. All right. And let's look. Let's see. I don't know if all my links are still going to work or not, so let's try them. Control S to save. And the only 2 pages I have are my music page and my home page. But now I'm on music, and now I went to home. The only way I can tell it's changed is you'll see a little flicker up here. See where it says Travis Tritt Home when I put my mouse there? Now when I click here, it says Travis Tritt Music. See that? So I'm going to ask you right now to save this 3 more times. Save it as tour.html, store.html, and fanclub, one word.html, and change each title. Everybody understand what I'm asking you to do? Anybody who doesn't? And if you want proof that it's actually changing, look up on the screen, please. Right now we have this on every page, right? Correct? Change that so they say Travis Tritt Home, Travis Tritt Music, Travis Tritt Tour, Travis Tritt Store, and Travis Tritt Fan Club in your H1 tag. Change all those. And you should now have a working website where you've got 5 pages and you can go back and forth between each page. All right, so now I can check and see whether or not it actually works. So there's home, music, tour, store, and fan club. And the same kind of thing is going to happen over here. There's fan club, there's store, there's tour, there's music, and there's home. Now, granted, it's not much to look at right now, but we will come in and we will be making changes. What I was most concerned with today was getting the basic structure set up, which we did earlier, and then creating the pages. All right. Now, does this make sense to everyone? Okay. I'm going to say something. You tell me whether or not this makes sense. What we're going to do in just a couple minutes is we're going to push this up to GitHub. We have not changed since we started. We haven't changed any of our CSS, right? We originally added normalize.css, I think it was, and styles.css, which is empty. We're going to work with that one tomorrow. But what it should show us is that we've modified index.html and we've added store.html, tour.html, music.html, and fanclub.html. Does that make sense? All right, because that's what, as you're sitting there working as a web developer, this is the kind of stuff that you're going to be doing. All right. Now, are there better ways, faster ways to do it? Of course there are. All right. In fact, at the end of the semester, and Angie can tell you about this, I will show you a package that you can use, and it's free, where we could probably build what we've done so far in less than 5 minutes. It's all drag and drop. All right. And you probably have seen commercials for things like Wix. You know, where they, you know, you need a website? Oh, I made my own and all this, or and a lot of times on YouTube commercials. All right. So we've got all this stuff done. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go back. I like to do this. You don't have to, but if you've got everything done, I'm going to go back into Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to do a file, and there's right now under Save All, mine is grayed out, meaning I have saved. All right. Now I'm going to do a file, and I'm going to say Close folder. I'm literally just going to close this. I don't like to sit and push stuff to Git and then up to GitHub while I've got the stuff I'm working on open. That's me. All right, maybe it's one of those things where I've just been burnt too many times and I just don't like to do that. I don't know. But, so I've got my whole folder closed. This is still open. That doesn't hurt anything. This is open and it works. That's just fine. All right. But I'm going to come back now into here, and I'm in Travis Tritt. I'm going to clear, and what are we going to do? The same darn thing we did before. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to say git space add space dot. We don't have to do another git init unless you got out of git. All right, then you might have to do another git init. But doing that, okay, it added everything. Now I can do a git status. And notice, I guess since we didn't have anything before in index.html, since it was totally empty, it considers it to be a new file because it was a file of 0 size. And that's fine. All right. So now I'm going to come in and say git space commit space -m space, and in double quotes, I'm going to say added favicon index.html music.html. The order in which you put this stuff doesn't matter. Store.html. What else do we have? Image music store. Tour.html and fanclub.html. All right, so I'm going to tell it to commit those. If you don't like what I'm putting in there for a message, by all means, put in your own stuff. You're not hurting my feelings at all. All right? Once you've got that in, or some reasonable facsimile, hit enter. All right, you'll notice last time we had, I don't know how many insertions. Now there's 355 in mine. Yours could be different. It doesn't matter. All right. And now we should be able to do our get space push space origin space master. You already notice it's taken a little bit. It took a little bit longer. Not really long, but a little bit longer. All right. And after doing that, and I'll come right back to this in a minute, but I'm going to jump back to there I am in GitHub, and I'm going to refresh my page. And you'll notice that some of this, like the initial project setup was 2 hours ago. Adding this stuff, it shows you what it is, was right now. All right? And I do want to say something to you. You're not going to see it on here, but if we had files that we modified, you can go in here and bring them up, and it'll show you, you can look at before and after pictures, and it'll usually take the stuff, I believe, that you've removed, it'll make it red, and the stuff you've added, and it'll make it green, the background. It'll be like almost a pinkish red and a light green. Okay? Because it's, what it's trying to do here is help you and show you. So right now, if we removed everything, we're not going to do that, but if we removed everything, we could bring it back. All right? We could, instead of doing a push, remember, push means we're sending it from a local machine to a server. Pull means that we're grabbing it from a server and we're putting it on our local machine. All right? So we've pushed a couple times now. We will actually do a pull either Friday or Monday. All right? And we'll talk about clones too that Gabriel mentioned the other day. All right? Is there anything that I've gone over in here right now that doesn't make sense? All right. There's one more thing that I wish I would have added and didn't. So you're going to have to add this to all 5 files. I'm sorry. And that is this. Please look up on the screen here. What we're going to want to do, get rid of all that. What we are going to want to do in here, we don't have links right now to our CSS files. Remember those files that we added, the normalize and the styles? We need those in every one of those 5 files. I wish I'd have put them in first, but you'll have to manually put them in. All right, and the way we do that is link rel for relationship equals style sheet. href equals, we have to let it know it's in CSS / normalize.css. And we'll also have to add styles.css. These go in the head section. Did everybody hear me? These go in the head section. Now, let's say you did all this and you copied it over to all 5 files. Everybody with me? So you did it, you copied it over to all 5 of those files. You've got these 2 lines. If you want to make sure that it works, so don't type this right now, but if you want to make sure it works, just go into this file right here, styles.css, go into that file and put in something like body, and like we did yesterday. So say like color, red, background, I don't know, green. That might be a really odd color together, but just so you know. So just to show you, I'm going to grab these 2 lines, right there, those two link lines. And for right now, I'm just going to go, and I got to open it back up again because I closed mine. You probably closed yours too, and that's fine. So I'm going to right mouse click on it one more time and tell it to open with code. Here we go. And I'm just going to put it in the first one, just so you see this. All right, and I'm going to open up the index file. Index, there it is. All right, and I know it's indexed because it says home right there. All right, right near the bottom of my head section, I'm going to add those two link statements. So I've got both those in there. I'm linking to both my CSS files. All right, there's the normalize one. Make sure normalize is first. And then there's the styles one. All right, I'm going to save that. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to open up under CSS my styles file. And I'm going to add what I just showed you here. And I think red and green is going to look really, really bad. So I think what I'll do is I'll say, yeah, that is going to look bad. I'll say here, color, like we did yesterday. I'll say here, how about, yeah, we'll get into all that too. How about, we'll make the color white and the background green. You can make it anything you want. It doesn't really matter. Now, how will I know that this works? Well, I go back here. Now, just so you know, look on the screen, because you're all going to do this. I do it all the time. I don't believe that you can open it from Live Server in a CSS file. You have to be in an HTML file. That's what the system expects. So I'm going back to index. Now I'm going to right mouse click and tell it to open with Live Server. See how it's green and white? Look on the screen. That's the only one I've added my stuff to. So notice, now it goes back. See that? So now what I'd like you to do is put those two lines in all 5 of the files, go in, play. Take a couple minutes and play. All right? For about 10 minutes. At 11:20, I'm going to give you out the Chapter 3 written test. I'm going to give you about 10 to 15 minutes to work on it. We're going to go over it, and that will be class for today. Sure. I'll leave that up there for a couple minutes. But again, these two lines have to be added in that order to index.html, music.html, tour.html, store.html, and fanclub.html. And this file right here, this, has to go into styles.css. Question? I don't know which one you mean. You mean this thing? Oh, sure. So the command is right here. Git space, push space, origin space, master. Can't highlight it. It doesn't let me in here. So, in fact, let's do this. Clear. There's the command.
Okay, the link that we added in to the 5 pages.
Yes.
Where do you add those, under the header?
They have to be in the head section.
In the head section.
You can literally put them any place. You usually see them towards the bottom of the head someplace.
Okay.
But again, that's what you should get used to doing with your pages, is having an order to them. So if your meta tag goes first on your first page, it should go first on every page. That's one reason I had you copy it to the other 5 pages. So we've got the exact same order now. I just wish I'd remembered that link tag, and I didn't. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you all the Chapter 3 written test right now, and we will go over it at about 11:30. So we have enough time to go through it. Do what you want to do until then, but get a chance. Look at this for at least a couple minutes and try to answer as many as you can. And again, if you are the kind of person, and I don't know any of you, I know Andy a little bit, but I don't really know any of you. If you are the kind of person who are like, you know what, I'm just totally lost, and I'm afraid to say anything, at a minimum, see me before class, see me after class, or email me. All right? If you think, if it's 2 weeks from now and it's like this is just clicking, and you're interested, you can actually say, hey, I could help other people. If you're willing to tutor people outside of here, you can work up to 20 hours a week and you make 10 bucks an hour. All right? And if you're interested in that, I'll ask again in a couple weeks or a week or so, and you can let me know. If you need a tutor, you can get one, and they're free. All right? The only problem is right now, normally I have second-year people tutor, and Keegan's my one second-year student. Keegan's will make an excellent tutor, but he works like 40 or 50 hours a week outside of here. He's got a rush to get here, he's got a rush to get out of here. So. Sure can. Put a comment here that says, put this in the styles.css file. You don't have to add the comment, just so you put it in the right place. None of you said anything, but would you look at the screen just for a second, please? Everybody? Did you notice this? And sometimes it's one of those things where I screw up in a good way. Okay? I'm at the home page, right? Do you see where everything is there? Do you see how it's all kind of pushed over? See what I'm talking about? Now watch. You see how it's not moved much, but you see it's moved a little? The first page has the normalized file in it. My other pages don't have it in there. All right? That's basically what normalize ended up doing, was it removed a lot of the stuff that was in there. Normalize isn't even as mean, so to speak, as the reset by Eric Meyer. Eric Meyer would have all been pushed up in the upper left-hand corner. All right? Basically, he zeroes out virtually everything. But our book uses normalize, so we'll use normalize. If you get that to work too, start playing with some of the CSS properties. There's other stuff that you can put in here. For instance, you can put in font size. You can change the font size to something if you want to. This is what we're going to get into tomorrow. That's why I didn't want to go into too much. You know, some people are picking it up like this. Some people are like, boy, I wish I was one of those people. All right? Everybody's different. Any questions? Is there anything I have not answered? Anything I brought up that you have any questions on?
I have a question. I added stuff to the style, that CSS file, the body, color, and background.
Yeah.
But it didn't change when I ran it.
Well, you have these lines in there.
Does that have to be on the style CSS?
No, this has to be in each HTML file.
Okay, I have it in.
And you have to make sure that if you called it styles here, all right, I call mine styles, that you put in the exact same thing.
Okay.
And if you say I did all that, I would try doing a Control S to save and make sure everything's saved. Okay. And then just see if that fixes it. If it doesn't, let me know.
Okay.
But again, you know, if you look right here, so there you go. So, you know, again, I'm gonna go back and add them to my other pages. Fan club. Got it in index, music. Store. And tool. See if that works. If you are still confused on anything, please go back in your book, look at Chapter 1, look at Chapter 2, look at Chapter 3, and even your tests if you need to. And if there's something you think I haven't covered or you still are confused about, please bring it up in class. All right? So today we went through Chapter 3 and we went through a get exercise. Tomorrow we'll go through Chapter 4. We're also going to push this back up again tomorrow when we get done with everything. But tomorrow, the whole emphasis basically will be on the Chapter 4 stuff. So we'll be talking, Chapter 4 is all on CSS. We're going to do this very deliberately. And what I mean is, we'll make a change or two, then we're going to see what it looks like on the screen. Make another change or two, and we'll see what it looks like on the screen. All right? Why are we doing it like that? Because we don't want to make a ton of changes and go from this to this. I want you to be able to see when you start making changes exactly what happens.
After you have those key lines and you switch files, the point down in CSS, there anything else we would do? Make sure I'm not.
Nope. You should try to open it up in Live Server and make sure that your changes took hold. Okay, yeah, then you're fine. Then you can start looking at the written test. Again, we will start going over that in about 10 minutes.